Hey everyone, I'm Nico from Licks of the Beast. In this video, we're going to be breaking down Adrian Smith's iconic solo from the title track to Iron Maiden's 1984 masterpiece, Powerslave. This one is an absolute classic. From that opening bend with a wide vibrato to those three ascending bends at the end and those really cool, unique sounding blues licks in between, this solo features masterful guitar playing by Adrian. Whenever I hear this solo, I always think of that big Mummy Eddie running and flailing all over the stage. That scene from Live After Death is such an iconic and unforgettable moment in heavy metal history. A fun fact about this solo is that Adrian apparently recorded it completely hungover in just one take. As he recalls it, he had been drinking with Martin Birch, who was Iron Maiden's producer at the time, until 5 o'clock in the morning, thinking that he would have the next day off. However, the next day, Martin Birch calls him and asks him to come to the studio to do some work. Needless to say, he wasn't exactly in tip-top shape, but somehow he pulled it off on the first take, which is pretty incredible considering we're still here talking about this solo almost 40 years later. For this tutorial, I've broken the solo down into 5 separate sections. For each section, I'm going to play it once at full speed and a few times slowly. Alright, now before we get to the actual solo, let's start by taking a quick look at what the rhythm guitar is doing. So essentially, this is a 4-bar, 4-chord pattern that repeats 4 times. And the chords implied here are B minor, G, D, A. Now let's take a look at the scales Adrian uses to put the solo together. So we're in the key of B minor, and for most of the solo we're playing the natural minor scale, mainly in the 7th fret position. In the 3rd section of the solo, Adrian uses the harmonic minor scale, which is the same as the natural minor, except it has a major 7th. And it's that major 7th in the minor scale that gives it that Egyptian sound. In the last lick, Adrian uses a composite blues scale, which is basically a mix of the major blues scale and the minor blues scale. The reason I like to talk about the scales and the chord progressions is that for me, the main point of learning a solo like this note for note is so that you can study how it was crafted and what makes the solo so memorable among a vast multitudes of guitar solos. The tone, phrasing, and articulation are of course an important part, and we're going to get into that as we examine each section of the solo. But it's also important to understand the note choice in relation to the chords, and for that, the scales are like the building blocks. Alright, so having said all that, let's get into the solo, and again, we're breaking this down into 5 sections. Let's start with the first one. And now slowly. And one more time. So that was the first section. Now let's look at section number 2. And now slowly. An important point about the end of that lick is to be sure to choke the bend on the B string before you fret and pick the note on the E string, so like this. So that it doesn't end up sounding like this. Now we go into that really cool harmonic minor lick. So let's look at that slowly. And one last time. This next section is my favorite lick of the solo, and it goes like this. What I really like about this lick is that it's not just a fast legato flurry, but there's a very specific staggered rhythm, so you're going to want to pay special attention to that, as well as the phrasing and the articulation on it. Let's look at it slowly. One more time. And now for the last lick of the solo. Let's look at that slowly. And one last time. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I will, of course, be doing tutorials for Dave Murray's solos to the song as well, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions at all, you can leave them in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you all soon with more licks of the beast.